Okay, so fairly early on, as I was coming out of university, I found myself in a kind of a place in Cambridge trying to find myself a place to stay. And I was not really at the time working, I was just out from my Sheffield degree, kind of in the first year of my trying to find a job back in Cambridge without having found one yet. And in this time, I met this geezer in a housing association. This guy was in the background. That guy you can see animatedly waving his hands about. I think that's me in the foreground somewhere. And this is a guy that I met. It's quite important. There's a few steps missing between. Basically, I eventually got a job. This is me having a rave in London, someplace in North London. I was during the weekends. I used to come out and meet people and take drugs to come out and rave with them. And this was some place in North London, Tottenham, near Tottenham area. Me raving there, because what I didn't realise was the raves finished at about 6 in the morning at some point. So I ended up somewhere in North London trying to actually find my way towards home, where I lived at Cambridge. And I didn't, realise that the train wasn't going to be until much later in the morning. So I just had to kind of basically wander around a bit, lost around the north parts of London. And this was my first exposure touch to this place. And as I was wandering around, quite drugged out of my head, still with the beats going in my head, I was watching the people go around their business and, the rabbis, because there was quite a few rabbis in that part of London at that time. The quite funny thing was that I then had to turn up on Monday morning into this new job I got as a software engineer, junior software engineer, and try to look normal. That's the bit that kind of set the whole thing off really a bit. I'm missing a few bits in between, but this is where I used to live in the house. This was a place where everybody more or less in the house was taking drugs at the time. I was a room tenant at the time, and this was a time when everybody was getting some new batch of drugs that had just come in, and everybody was really talking excitedly about these drugs that had just come in. And everybody was, how do we, what do we do? We all just, some people were talking, and what we do now, kind of thing. Because being quite single at the time, I didn't have any company, so I thought to myself, well, instead of going with these people, I'll try and, impress this girl that was also in the house and see if I can get her to come out with me to enjoy these, So this is me trying to basically chat her up and persuade her, let's, you and I go away somewhere and blah, blah, blah. It's just, okay, there's a lot of steps missing in this one, I realise. This is jumping away a bit from that area, although it's the same area of Cambridge. This was me with a guy in probably the weekend or in the evening off the weekday that I used to know at the time that was quite important. This fella was, he organised a lot of the parties that were going on during the weekends, during which people got together and took all these drugs and just went out of their head crazy dancing. And this is me, chilling out in his front room lounge watching television. You can see there's a guy in the foreground, he's just having a spliff, and the guy there is just having, a chat about some daytime television or some evening interview that's going on. So because I didn't have any, obviously,